Hey everyone, welcome back to another F1 2021 video. Before we start, if you are enjoying these videos and you're enjoying the series, please do leave a like on the videos. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you haven't seen any of the other videos, if this is the first one you're coming to, welcome along. And I do recommend you go back and look at how we got here, just so you have an understanding of sort of what we've been through and what we have been able to accomplish thus far in the My Team career mode. And also, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe. It would really help me out quite a lot. With that being said, let's jump right into the video. So we're coming off a disappointing performance in Russia. We're on for a podium finish, and then that mix up with Sainz, I think on the second to last lap, and the front wing damage caused a whole bunch of issues for us at the end of that race. I haven't received anything so far to say that we are going to be getting any regulation changes, so we're going through and we're using up a whole bunch of our resource points now, basically trying to get as many upgrades as we can. There's a few that we can rush in before the Brazilian Grand Prix, the next one we're heading to. So we're going to do that, because I mean by this point there's only 3 races left, so if they haven't done the regulation changes by now, then I'm pretty sure they won't be doing any for next season, which is good for us. It means we don't have to spend our resource points trying to maintain what we've got, but it does also mean
they'll be on the car, ready for the next race weekend.
Cool, so we've got some parts to come through.
Be happy regardless of what you choose.
So spend some cash, get some acclaim. Easy decision.
Thank you.
But it does also mean that we will be having a bit of a disadvantage to the AI teams, who will also be moving further ahead. There's a couple of our parts don't manage to go through in time, but you can just restart them for free. They'll still be on before the Melbourne Grand Prix. So we've still got 3,000 resource points. That's still heaps sitting there as we move on to race weekend.
Your attention. The tech regulations are changing. There's a risk some of our hard work will be undone, so we need to mitigate it. As soon as you can, I want you to look at the developments we have and tell us what areas you want to invest in protecting.
So of course, knowing our luck, as soon as we spend all of our points, they announced regulation changes. So it looks like it's a whole bunch of aerodynamic upgrades and durability upgrades. By the looks of things, it is pretty much all of them. So we are having to go through now and spend all of our points. Just trying to maintain the upgrades that we've got heading into next season. We want to make sure we're in the best possible position that we can. We're also having to go through and cancel a whole bunch of the upgrades that we did have in place before the race weekend started. Luckily we were able to do that and get back the full resource point cost of those. So that will help us out a lot as well. So we can get most of them done now before this race, and then from here on out those points will just be used to basically get everything protected for next season. And so we completed practice, got all the resource points we could out of practice, which is good. Obviously we're going to need them now that the regulation changes have come through, which yeah, so at this point that's the main focus. Resource points to prevent the loss of any of our upgrades. We need as many of them as we can heading into Season 3, because I think Season 3 is going to be the season we really push to get to the top of the standings. I don't know if we'll be able to get there, whether it's going to be more of a Season 4 thing if we get to a Season 4, but you know, I feel like the way that we're going now, the Season 3 chase could be the one where we end up really pushing for that top spot, but we'll have to wait and see. As we are here in qualifying now for the Brazilian Grand Prix, for the Brazilian Grand Prix. Sorry, I had trouble pronouncing that one. Season 1, I feel like I was doing quite well at this race, but it was so late in the season, the car wasn't performing as well as we wanted it to. I think we had some parts issues, like engine component issues, and I think we were just having some issues with just learning to drive the track still. But this could be the time as we come around the last couple of turns. We've gone green through sector 1, purple through sector 2. It is only early on in the session. Well, no, it's halfway through the session. Green through sector 3, we finished with a 108.6, which is good enough for 8th, but we did have those engine component changes before this weekend, which means we are going to be taking a penalty. Jenson Button starting back in P13. And we'll just have to see where we end up starting off when we make it to the grid.
Welcome along then to the place where heroes and history are made. It's where the 2008 title was decided in the final corner. And it's the place, a year later, that Jenson Button stormed through from 14th on the grid to claim his one and only Drivers' Championship. It's Interlagos, and it's time for the Brazilian Grand Prix. It's an unusual anti-clockwise race here at Interlagos, where the Sao Paulo locals are packed into the grandstands at each of the 15 corners around this classic 2.7-mile circuit. Two very fast sections bookend the famous and highly technical Sector 2, where getting a good run out of Junsao into one of the two DRS zones will be the key to any overtaking prospects today. And as always, a man with plenty of racing experience joins me in the commentary box. Today it's Anthony Davidson. Tell me, Ant, you're no stranger to surviving the melee of turn 1, so how do you keep out of trouble when there's so much going on around you?
There are three main things to worry about there, Crofty: positioning, awareness and discipline. First, you have to put your car in a bit of space and make sure you have room to react to what the others are doing. Then you have to watch your mirrors and listen to the sounds around you to get a sense of where everyone is. And finally, just don't get too greedy. Just because a gap exists doesn't always mean you should go for it.
With the race minutes away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Young superstar Max Verstappen starts from pole position, with Charles Leclerc alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Perez, Bottas, Lewis Hamilton and Norris, Fernando Alonso, Ricciardo, Gasly and Esteban Ocon. The captain, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Sainz, George Russell and Giovinazzi, Schwartzman, Stroll, and Guan Yu Zhou and Nicholas Latifi. They've taken a grid penalty. Button, Mick Schumacher, Mazepin and Yuki Tsunoda. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
So P11, where we're going to be starting after that grid penalty that we took, but Button taking a grid penalty as well and starting back in P19, so not looking good for Cross GT Racing. We're going to be doing a two-stop this race, softs to mediums and back to softs again. Hopefully we can do well off the first stint on the softs, get us into a good track position, and then the mediums can carry us through to that final stint. Hopefully at the end we'll be the only ones on the softs. I'm assuming that maybe some of the other teams will be doing a one stop, either going from softs to mediums or from softs to hards. We'll have to wait and see, as we're in a little bit of battle here at the start with Sainz, just trying to maintain P11 there. But he's got the speed on us. We're not as competitive now as we have been. We go along the outside of Ocon. We managed to put a car in between us and Sainz, so that should slow him down now and give us a little bit of breathing room. Up the inside of Gasly, we're making moves already on this first lap. We're now up into P9. Now we're up with the, I would say, I mean we are in the middle of the field, but I'd say we're up with the front runners now. I mean this top 8, these guys are pretty quick. And the drivers we got up here have the ability to move, to pull away from everyone else. So this could be the pack we want to stick with if we want to come out with a win here at Brazil. as we come around the final couple of turns. And there's lap 1 completed. A nice tidy clean lap 1. And we managed to jump up a couple of positions there, overtaking Ocon and Gasly. And we've now got a healthy gap between ourselves and Gasly, just over a second. So things are starting to look good for us at these early stages, as Ricciardo makes a move on Alonso. We're locking up those brakes there. Alright, so Button is definitely having some troubles back there. Not being helped in part by the fact that that whole back group is being held up by one of the Alfa Romeos, slowing everyone down. But it's definitely helping us out, because it means that we're less likely now to fall too far back as we go wide there at turn 13. I think it's 13. And Alonso and Ocon, both Alpines, just come cruising up the side of us there, thanks to the DRS they would have gained. As we try to make a move on Ocon, we make a move on Ocon, we've got the DRS. Alonso comes across, goes defensive. We've got an Alpine on either side of us. And that could have been a very risky move. Well, it was, as we take another look there. So we have a good run on Ocon. We managed to get alongside him. He's also got the DRS. I didn't even think about that. A little bit of contact. A lot of contact there with Ocon. But we managed to come out of there unscathed, luckily. But that's definitely an issue for the stewards to look into.
We're approaching the pit window. You'll be on the mediums.
Okay, so as Alonso takes a little look up the inside of us there and pushes us wide, that really messes us up and gives him 8th position back. It looks like Ocon's into the pits, so obviously some sort of damage, front wing damage probably, from those collisions that we had. As Sainz now jumps in front of us, so Sainz has managed to catch up to us, and he's gone back in front of us like he tried to do at the start of this race. We're still in the top 10, I mean we are P10, so we're just in the top 10. Just in the points. Again, it is only early, it's only lap 6. We've got plenty of time to make some moves and work our way up the pack, although in saying that, there is a massive gap that is formed between Alonso. As we look up the inside of Sainz, we managed to get past Sainz. P9, there's a massive gap between Alonso and P8 and Ricciardo and P7. Ricciardo is more than 7 seconds ahead of Alonso, and then there's a sizable gap between him and his teammate Lando Norris, and then again between Norris and the Mercedes sitting in P5. So it's going to take a lot for us to catch back up. It's going to take a lot for anyone to catch up,
7.8 seconds.
but I feel like our strategy could help us out there, as we should have another lap left on these soft compound tyres before we move on to the mediums. As we're now looking at going into the pit lane. So now heading into the pit lane to go on to a set of mediums. A lot of the other front runners are staying out. We just have to see how that works out for them. They may be coming in the next couple of laps.
Go, go, go.
Or they may have some really good tyre wear upgrades.
One more stop today. One stop left in our strategy.
Really good tyre upgrades which would allow them to stay out on those softs just that bit longer. That's okay. P21 now, the only car behind us is Ocon, who had to have that early pit stop after that debacle with us on that DRS straight earlier in the race. We're on mediums now, so we're going to be at a slight disadvantage over the rest of the grid, who are still all on softs, but it does mean that we...
Stay with him, he might make a mistake. You can still regain the position.
It does mean that we will hopefully have the advantage on the last stint when we go back onto the softs. But we will just have to wait and see as we get DRS on Ocon. As we go around the outside, we managed to take that position that he took from us just before. So take another look here. We go onto the grass, lose a lot of speed, but we're able to carry so much more speed around that corner than Ocon can. He does leave this space for us, which probably slowed him down a bit, but he's so far behind, or he was, well he still is I suppose, that it's probably not going to make that much of a difference at this point, as we now just make just an elementary move on Mazepin there, who has fallen behind quite a lot. I don't think he's had any issues, so that's just a typical Mazepin move there. Up into P20 now.
Ahead is 7.6 seconds.
Okay, so we're just over so we're 7.6 seconds behind Schumacher, who was on old softs, who was staying out. So all of these front teams, or not even the front teams, but all of these teams have got drivers that are staying out on softs way longer than they normally would.
We're trailing our teammate by 6.4 seconds.
Well, either that or I'm starting on worn softs, which I have done I think a few times this season. I didn't realise I was, so that's probably why that first stint was so short. But that's okay. I still think our strategy is going to be a pretty good one. Lap 15, we've managed to catch up to this trailing group. We get past Mick Schumacher relatively easily, who's on really worn soft compound tyres, and we're on some warm mediums. Now looking to gain on Tsunoda and our teammate, who's moved up into P15 for starting from P19 thanks to a grid penalty. Couple of easy positions there as Alonso and Sainz go into the pit lane, which no doubt will end up coming back to get us when we go in for our next stop later on in the race, as we try to make some moves on Tsunoda, but we just can't quite get it done. We managed to get alongside there very late on the brakes, which allows him to just basically undercut us and go back around and gain that position back. So no position gained there, but now they are going into the pits, Tsunoda and Button. It looks like quite a few of the drivers are going in. I think there's about 4 or 5 of them there in the pit lane, which gets us back up into the top 10. Guan Yu Zhou in P9 just in front of us, thanks to the all the teams going into the pits. We make quick work of him. We managed to take that corner a lot better this time round.
You made it look easy.
Back up into P9 now. The highest we've been this race is P8. It looks like Latifi's heading into the pits, and so is Zhou. So that now puts us up into P8, but now we have a massive mountain to climb. 14.5 seconds to get up to Ricciardo. We do have one more stint left to go in this race, which will be on the softs. So we're about halfway through this stint on the mediums for now. Well, a bit over halfway through. Oh, as we go wide and we cut back across in front of whoever was there. Signs goes through and we come into the pits. We're into the pits already, so we've been called in early. This would be a long stint on the soft, so we've got front wing damage apparently. I wasn't aware that we did.
Go now.
And now we're on to a fresh set of mediums, so...
That was our last stop. No more scheduled pit stops.
Okay, so the advantage that we would have had has been lost, because now we're on mediums again along the rest of the grid, so we're not going to have the advantage of tyre compound. And their front wing damage was also impeding us in terms of being able to try and catch up to the rest of the pack and get a good position. But you know, we're going to take what we can get. I think hopefully the rest of the pack might be going, well, actually no, they all stayed out longer on newer softs, so they will be going right to the end of the Grand Prix on some currently slightly worn mediums, or the ones that decide to go into hards will just be going straight through on basic hards as we try to make a move on Ocon now. So it's been a few laps since we made that pit stop.
Nice work.
Well, a couple of laps. We're now P18, so these tyres will take us right through to the end of the Grand Prix as we make a pretty straightforward move on Sonoda there. P17, and now we're looking to go... Nope, we don't go around the outside of Stroll there. We're going to just stick behind him. And we're going to try and make him here. He's on hard, so we've got the speed on him, and we just breeze straight past him there. So there's three positions gained this lap. We're now 2.5 seconds behind our teammate. But that shouldn't be too much of an issue. Obviously, as we have now managed to catch up to him, we go straight around the outside. It's really stretching the track limits there. A little bit of contact, but nothing that causes any real damage. Well, at least not to us. I'm not sure about him, but it looks like he's still managing to maintain pace with us. So hopefully no damage to him there. As we now look around the outside of Latifi, we managed to get it done. Now we're eyeing up Schwartzman, so there's another couple of positions on this lap. So we're now P14, so we're slowly climbing up. We've got another 12 laps left in this race. So we do have plenty of time to try and catch up to these guys, although the gaps, once we get past these few cars, we've lost it. We've taken a tiny hit into the wall, and now we've got front wing damage. So that is not going to help us at all. What has already been a relatively disappointing race so far is now just getting worse. As our teammates now going in front of us, and we are having a lot of trouble handling this car as we try to hold off Ocon here.
Some information on Button. They're slowing down. It seems like
And
there's some kind of problem with their car.
well, yeah, of course there was. He slowed down right on that corner, and now he's taken out our front wing completely. So the two Cross GT racing cars have just collided. Something was up with Button's car, which meant that he was slowing down, but he was slowing down right on that really narrow, tight left-hand corner.
Caution, the virtual safety car has just been deployed due to a buildup of debris on the track.
Okay, so now safety car
VSC
is
ending by
out.
going green. Maintain positive delta until the green flags.
And now safety car's coming in, so what's the point in calling a safety car if it's only going to be out for like 3 seconds? Ah, what a lap that was. So we missed.
There's been an incident on track resulting in loose debris. Fortunately, the marshals have managed to clear it up in time, and there are no plans for a safety car right now. You'll be able to push sooner once these scrubbed tyres are up to speed.
Okay, so now we're back out on the track. We're P20. The only cars behind us are Button, who was a mile behind us. So there was an issue with his car and he was slowing down, but now he's gone to the pits. He's picked up some soft compound tyres, and now he's back out racing. So I don't know what the problem was that meant he was having to slow down at that point in the track.
Okay, good work.
that messed up my momentum and meant that I was now, it means that I'm now not able to compete up the front. And so now we've got, well, now we've got to move out of the way of the two cars that are coming up behind us.
We're not racing the car
So we've got a McLaren, and Joe's just managed to duck back in front of us with that cheeky move. So now we're going to have to try and catch him again. But yeah, we've just, now our whole race is just messed up. And now we've got ourselves a penalty because we've cut the corner too many times. So that's frustrating. Just to add on top of, just to add to the top of all the issues that have happened in this race, we've now just got a 3-second penalty, which isn't really that big of a deal considering the fact that it's P18. We're not going to really lose anything by having that 3-second penalty. But it just means a pretty disappointing race here in Brazil as we cross the finish line with one lap to spare. So fun times here in Brazil as Yuki Tsunoda gets driver of the day, and we come away with nothing.
Victory for the team from Milton Keynes then, after a quality performance. What do you think it was, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition today?
I think a large part of the result comes down to temperament. They were able to keep their heads when everyone around them was losing theirs, and that's allowed them to get the best out of the car, to maximise the strategy, and to stay out of trouble.
The drivers are en route to the podium as we speak. What a fantastic win for the Red Bull team. They performed exceptionally today, keeping us firmly on the edge of our seats throughout the entirety of the race. Congratulations to everyone at the team.
So, disappointing day at the office here in Brazil. I did feel like we would have a much better chance of getting points here than we actually did today. Carlos Sainz out of the Grand Prix or the DNF. Not really sure what that was for. But there's quite a few, like the top, only the top 9 managed to finish the race on the final lap. Everyone else in the field was lapped and finished a lap behind. So we finished P18. Button finishes P21. That collision that we had basically sealed the team's fate there. Frustrating, but it is what it is. As we have now dropped down to P7 in the driver's standings. We were, I think, P5 last race. Carlos Sainz also drops down after the DNF he had today, overtaken by Ricciardo and Leclerc, as we have been. So we take a look at the constructor standings. McLaren and Ferrari have swapped around now. They're tied on points, but positional finishes making all the difference there. We're still P5, but now Alpine is within 16 points of us. So that could be a little bit of a battle in the last couple of races. I think I'm pretty sure I've got 2 races left. There's the Australian Grand Prix next, and then I think after that it is Abu Dhabi, I do believe. So 2 more races left. Disappointing day here in Brazil, but looking ahead to the next race weekend and also the rest of the season with all the regulation changes coming through. So that is the end of this race weekend. Please do remember to like, comment and subscribe if you haven't already, and hopefully next time we do a little bit better, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Thanks for watching.